Here to talk with me about the Baltimore Ravens is longtime Ravens fan Mike Brittingham. He's been on the show before. Mike, I really am glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How did you become a fan of the Ravens, and what drew them to you instantly?
When I was younger, I was always a Baltimore Orioles fan. So the minute that Baltimore ended up getting a football team in my age range at that time, I became an instant fan from then on. Gave me another hometown team to root for.
Definitely. And when you heard the news that, like you said, you mentioned that, but hearing that the Browns were coming to Baltimore, was it one of those things where you had to pinch yourself to think, is this real? Because there have been so many times that Baltimore was said, oh, they're the favorite to get an expansion team, then Carolina and Jacksonville get a team, or somewhere else, or the Buccaneers end up staying in Tampa Bay and things like that.
Yeah, it was really neat. I remember hearing about it on the news, and my whole family was talking about it, and it was really cool. Brought everybody together.
Going back to your memories as a Ravens fan, 2 Super Bowls to count from, if it's even that, what is the most memorable moment as a Ravens fan?
Actually, I went to both Super Bowl parades, and I remember going to the very first one, and I thought it was like the coolest thing I ever watched. And I seen Tony Saragusa on top of the hood of a car driving through downtown Baltimore, and I was dying because that dude is huge. I thought that was really neat.
How did that differ from the second parade? Because I know that had to be interesting. Yes, like years later, where it's like, okay, we're back on top of the mountain.
It was really cool. I got closer in the second parade. I actually reached out and almost got a high five from Ray Rice, but didn't end up happening. But it was actually neat. It was fun. It was different area, different feel. It was more, I guess, I don't want to say shocking that we won it that year, but it was definitely like we knew it was something special. It was nice.
Going into the season, what were the expectations for the Ravens? What did you feel like they could do? I know a disappointing playoff ouster against the Bills. 17-3. The offense didn't show up, especially after a huge win against Tennessee and getting that burden off your back.
Going into the season, I had actually extremely high hopes. I thought we were clearly one of the AFC favorites, and then people just started to drop like flies with injuries, and we end up having, I think it's like at least 15 on injury reserves done for the year, and then we lost our whole running back core within like a week or two, and I thought at that point I was like, oh no, this might not be good.
And it looks like so far they've been able to weather the storm. I know you lose guys like Gus Edwards and you lose all those other guys. And like you said, not even before the season started, they were already a mass unit. But to you, was there a particular moment that you felt, okay, regardless of the situation with the running backs, we're going to the playoffs?
I think whenever you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, you know that you got something unique. For how many years to come, that's to be determined. But I don't know. I just don't worry. I don't know how to explain it. You kind of have a calm feeling when he's your quarterback and he's under center and, everything seems to be working well. And you work as a good unit. John Harbaugh's a great coach. He catches a lot of flack, but I still think he's one of the best coaches in football.
Which is even more amazing when you think about it. There's only been, to my knowledge, 3 coaches in Ravens history. Ted Marchibroda, and then Brian Billick, and then
John Harbaugh.
Yeah, John Harbaugh, because I was trying to think, was there an interim in between? No, it's just those 3. And all those guys were long-term coaches. I mean, Marchibroda's the shortest term, and that was maybe 3 years coming, from the inaugural year till Billick got hired.
Right. Yeah, it's been a nice, he's just a staple of Baltimore right now. And I feel like he makes the right decisions at the right time. I mean, we might not all agree, but it's the reason he gets paid what he does, and he's one of the best at it.
Was there a particular point in the season, you were worried about how Baltimore would fare, especially in some of the games of the season. Was the Cincinnati game something that alarmed you? Was it any other particular game? Was it the Detroit game where it took the Tucker field goal?
No, it was definitely the Cincinnati game where we got destroyed on both ends of the ball, and it was just one of those things where I was hoping the wheels didn't fall off. Luckily, it didn't so far, knock on wood. But that was definitely the biggest game where I took a step back and was like, uh-oh, this might not be good.
Looking at the AFC playoffs, now 7 teams get in as opposed to the 6. That means number 1 seed is the most important seed, not 1 and 2. Right. But the road to the AFC Championship or through the Super Bowl runs through whoever's number 1. But looking at the playoffs, who, as a Ravens fan, do you feel like the Ravens match up the best with in the AFC?
I'm going to say if we have to play them again, I would like to play it. I don't want to play anybody, obviously, but I think we match up best against Indianapolis. And I know that sounds crazy with Jonathan Taylor as their running back, but I feel like we can hold them to one-dimensional football if we play them again, and I don't think the score will be as close as it was.
Who in the AFC scares you? Is it Kansas City? Is it New England now that all of a sudden they've found life? Is it Tennessee even without Derrick Henry? Or is it somebody else we haven't mentioned? Is it Cincinnati? Is it the Browns? Could it be Pittsburgh? Could it be someone out of the West that we haven't talked about like the Raiders or the Chargers?
I tell you what worries me the most, and I know this is probably as a football fan, you kind of get that feeling. Like last year we played Buffalo. I think Buffalo, with all their weapons in the wide receiving core, kind of scare us the most. But for me, if I'm gonna pick anybody, it's gonna be New England right now because they are getting hot at the right time.
It's interesting. I had always talked with someone before, just talking about you look back at Belichick. Belichick basically, and some people won't agree. Maybe some people might forget. He set the foundation for 2 franchises. When he was in Cleveland before the move, he basically his draft board had Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden on there, and basically Ozzie Newsome is still here, and then all his sergeants and everybody, Eric DaCosta, all those guys learned from Ozzie Newsome, who learned from Bill Belichick. So it's interesting enough that basically when you look and you compare the Patriots and you compare Baltimore, that there are a lot of similarities how their fundamentals are foundation wise. Maybe certain things like how they deal with personnel are different and the whole mentality, but it seems like they're like very cut from the same cloth.
They are, and I think that's something to be said about Bill Belichick. There's something to be said about the Ravens. Something to be said about New England. I think Bill Belichick. I know he also gets a lot of flack, but I think he's probably one of the best coaches in football. He just has that football mind that you want every coach to have, and he sees things that we don't see, as regular people, even as football people. He's just excellent at what he does, and it's not a bad thing to mimic that. That's for sure.
And one more thing before we go to our prediction. Justin Tucker has really come up clutch several times this season. I know some people say the day you don't have Tucker and Lamar Jackson, Baltimore's in trouble. But, I mean, I know it seems like everybody just say, oh, he's just a kicker or he's special teams because that tends to get overlooked a lot. But to you, how important has Justin Tucker been, especially consistency where a lot of teams are constantly looking for a kicker and who's good not only just – week in and week out, but year in and year out?
He is the backbone of the Ravens. I feel like Lamar is the leader, and then you have the backbone, which is Justin Tucker. And I'm a Wink Martindale fan, so I think he is huge for the Ravens as well. But it is fantastic to have a leader like Lamar and a backbone like Tucker, and it's true. The day that the Ravens go without one or both is a sad day for sure.
Do you think Tucker is Hall of Fame caliber? I know it's weird because kickers, like I said, kickers and punters don't get the love that position players do.
Not even a question. First ballot Hall of Famer. No question.
As we start going to the prediction for the Super Bowl, who do you have coming out of the AFC? Who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who wins, and what is the final score?
Okay, I'm going with, out of the AFC, I'm always going to say the Ravens. It's just going to be what I say. So I'm going to say the Ravens. And I'm actually going to say the Green Bay Packers. I know that's a matchup coming up. They flex that time to 4:30, I think, to make sure everybody can watch that next coming week. I think it's 2 weeks from now. I believe it's 2 weeks from now. I have Ravens out of the AFC. I have Green Bay out of the NFC. And I got 34-17. As bad as it sounds and much as it hurts, Green Bay Packers.
Oh, I thought you were going to make it a field goal game and Tucker hits the winner.
No. If I'm a betting man, right now, Aaron Rodgers has something to prove. And I think he's going to end up proving it. And I hope I'm wrong. To be honest with you, I really want to be wrong. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Green Bay.
Do you have any shout-outs you want to give to anybody who's watching or anything like that, or who will hear this episode as it goes along? And do you have anything you want to promote? How can people reach out to you and talk Ravens football?
And you can DM me anytime about any kind of Ravens, any kind of questions like that. I have nobody I want to really give a shout-out to, but I'd like to give a shout-out to just everybody. Tell them happy holidays. I hope everybody's doing well, and keep on doing good.